Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of April 14th to April 20th. Now, I am putting this out a day earlier than normal. For those that don't know, going into the weekend before this actual weekly episode, I am going to be at the Gypsy Holistic Fair in Fort Smith, Arkansas at the Wyndham Hotel. If you're wanting to come out and meet with me in person, I will be doing full moon readings for people for the weekend and also getting everybody prepared in person for what their new normal is going to be. And that's going to be a lot of what we're going to talk about in regards to this week's episode is that new normal. Now, going into this vibration, going into where we're going next, there's a lot of new to this week, but more specifically, the new kind of starts to slide into gear. And I want to say slide. It's not really a kick per se. Slide, shift, move into gear over the course of this week, most specifically from Wednesday forward. Monday and Tuesday are kind of their own vibration. And the main reason they are their own vibration is because it's going to be right after the full moon. And as soon as that full moon perfects, right afterwards, the moon's going to go into Scorpio. And for a lot of people, whatever came to a peak, whatever we healed, whatever wound was created, whatever we are trying to release, whatever we are letting go of, whatever we are overcoming, whatever we are leveling up from the full moon vibration, there is some inner work to be done. And that really kind of comes through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of this week. And a lot of that has to do with the moons going through Scorpio. But once the moon goes into Sag, what immediately follows is other luminaries changing signs. We have 3 changing signs this week. Mercury is going to re-enter Aries. That's number 1. And as soon as Mercury re-enters Aries, there's going to be a conjunction to Neptune. Our first true planetary conjunction to Neptune in the sign of Aries, in the new sign. And it's going to happen at 0 degrees of Aries. About 36 hours later, good old Mars, the ruler of Aries, is going to re-enter Leo. Right after that, the sun is going to enter Taurus. New, new, new. Now, for a lot of people, since we're talking about Mercury re-entering a sign and Mars re-entering a sign, there's going to be some stuff from before that we thought we could kind of do. We were trying to pick up on. We had an idea, but some part of it did not work. Something did not go to plan per se. And what followed afterwards was a whole different vibration. It was a whole different topic. And there was a change to plans. There were some alterations. Now, for some people, I'm talking back to November and December. And that has to do with Mars in Leo. We started a vibration, we put something together, but we weren't able to take it as far as we wanted because what did Mars do? It came in, went to 6 degrees, got to spin in, turned retrograde, and went back. But now we're picking back up on something. But whenever it comes to Mercury, we're talking about stuff over the course of the last month and a half, things that we were starting to do, an idea that was starting to set in, but we weren't necessarily ready to do something. And even if you try to do something, it didn't necessarily work the way that we wanted. There has been a change in plans. There's been a change in the concept. And for many people, we've had a release, a long-term release, allowing for a new long-term energy to set in. Now, whenever it comes to Mercury, I started talking about this last week. I want to bring it up again now, but I'm going to put more emphasis on the now. Mercury is trying to enter a trine with Mars. Like these two are like, they're moving together in a triangle and they will change signs in their triangle, but they will never actually, triangles are trine, that is actually trine that I should be saying. But they never actually make a full connection. However, while they're trying to build into a trine, Mercury is going to enter Mars' sign and hit that first conjunction to Neptune. And even though these two planets don't actually slide into place, I still think their vibration brings some things to light this week. It's going to be able to launch an idea, take something to a new level, bring new information to light, bring something to the surface that we didn't necessarily know. And for some people, whatever gets brought to the surface is going to lead to a new long-term judgment, action, reaction, disruption. Why do I say that? Because as soon as we get through Mercury going into Aries and hitting that conjunction in Neptune, Mars is going to go into Leo. Mars is going to go into the sign of the sun, shed light, brightness, attention, power, empowering, drive, ambition. Not only that, by the end of the week, the actual sun will enter its full square to Mars. Again, showing a light, pushing, judging. A little bit of ambition and drive, can also be some tension and arguments because that's Mars. Good old Mars, the god of war. He likes to pick a fight just as much as he likes to get shit done. For some people, this week, we'll be picking a fight, the new fight. For other people, it is going to be picking the direction, picking the drive, picking up on something that is going to be for the new long-term vibration. Now, why am I saying the new long-term? Mercury and Neptune's conjunction is happening at 0 degrees of Aries. It is a cardinal sign. Cardinal signs are instigative signs. They are the signs that start new seasons. They are the signs that start new shit. I said it. It is what it is. You're instigators. Deal with it. But the sun going into Taurus is going into a fixed sign. Mars going into Leo is going into a fixed sign. And when the sun does go into Taurus, we have Venus newly direct, ready to put some things straight, ready to put some things in order to allow something new to flow through that hasn't been able to flow over the course of the last few months because, of course, she had to have a retrograde and shake some stuff up. Now, we are in the first full week post-Venus retrograde. We're in our first full week of not having a single planet retrograde since last summer. Think about that. Think about that, really, since last year. Over the course of these next 2 months, mid-April to mid-June, in a lot of ways, we're full steam ahead from here. We have the ability to do something new every single day, build on something new every single day, go in a new direction every single day. Full steam ahead vibration. I haven't got to say that in a long time, but I'm serious. There is something new that can finally come through. Now, over the course of the last week, while Mercury had just stationed direct, but Venus was still mucking up her retrograde stuff, many of us had these epiphanies mentally, emotionally, of this is what I have to let go of. This is what I have to quit holding on to. This is what I don't want to deal with. And there was so much of the vibration last week of like, I am beating my head against the wall. I've been committing to the insanity. I've been doing the same thing over and over again, not getting a different result. And the only way to stop hurting myself, stop busting my head open, is to stop hitting this wall. This wall. There has been a turn. I don't want to fight with this person anymore. I don't want to fight for this situation anymore. I don't want to be in this toxic relationship anymore. I don't want to be a part of this event, the situation, whatever it is anymore. And a lot of people are going to be coming to terms with that in this new week. Now, Monday and Tuesday, for a lot of people, has some emotional, like, I got to come to terms with something. I got to accept something. I got to recognize something. And for a lot of people, there will be just a few days of, I got to get it out of my system. And emotions can be high at the start of the week. Following that full moon, again, moon in Scorpio, there can be some heightened emotions. Got to get some stuff out. Got to get some purging out. There's still some ripples and rolls of how we deal with the wound and how we're going to do the separation, how we're going to stop hurting ourselves, how we're going to stop committing to the insanity. But once we get to that second half of the week and we're able to step into more of that new long-term vibration, new ways of doing things, transitioning into the new, we will be able to shift our focus, and what we are leaving behind will not continue to be as heavy once movement begins. And I do mean the movement. Now, some people are going to have some things exposed this week. And that takes me back to that Mercury-Neptune vibration. Exposed. A new thing exposed coming through. Neptune, whenever it comes to his vibration, you guys have heard me say this before, sometimes this is going to have to do with health, it's going to have to do with treatments, it has to do with infections, it has to do with things spreading in a lot of ways, and that can be one element of Neptune coming through, like the news of an infection, the news of treatment, the news being communicated of something that needs to be healed. That's one way that Neptune can come through. Another way that Neptune can come through is like inspiration, communicating the new inspiration. This is how I'm going to achieve it. This is my plan. This is what I'm going to start to do. It's the word of mouth marketing. It's putting something out there. It's spreading the word, making something go viral. Mercury's conjunction to Neptune, and it's pushing something new. But for other people, the other side of Neptune is the lies, the fraud, and the deception. And we need to be very aware, whether it's in our mundane individual lives or in the big picture and anywhere in between. You might have a spiritual event where somebody else will be like, oh, look, lies. Okay. New lies, fraud, and deception coming through. Being revealed, being brought to light in the vibration, and the exposure of that leads to additional disruptions as the week continues. Now, I know this little part right here is a little bit loaded. Dusty, I know there's more to that. You're absolutely right. And if I have the time this week, I want to do a meditative rant. But I will be honest, I have been booked from morning, noon to night every single day. Y'all took me up on that special, and I am grateful for it. But I've had very little time for anything else. And plus, doing these events, I've had very little time. So my goal this next week is to do a meditative rant video to kind of touch on that a little bit more and really put some things in perspective for some people. That's probably going to ruffle some feathers, but whatever. That'll be good. All right. Let's get into the week. Let's get into the transits. Let's get into Monday. Now, here's the funny thing about Monday. Astrologically speaking, ain't shit going on. Nothing. There's no direct transits to Monday. None. The moon is going to be in Scorpio all day long. Now, what I will bring up with the moon in Scorpio is the fact that we are wrapping up. We're in our final days of Mars in Cancer. This is Mars in the moon sign while the moon is in Mars's sign. And what I get the impression of is like if somebody just had a very, very brand new wound come through, then some people need to go into their hole. Now think of the concept of Cancer being the crab and Scorpio being the scorpion. They like their holes. Like sometimes we just need to retreat and go into our hole and just let the emotions flow out. Nothing went to plan. It's not right. I've got to change something up. Oh my God. I need to heal. I need to put something else into motion. Now, with the Mars vibration, we're wrapping this up. And whenever he's out of this sign this week, we will be done with Mars and Cancer for like a year and a half. Like it's going to be a while. And that's a good thing. The moon going through Scorpio is not always the best place, but with the mutual reception, we have something extra helping us. And there is something about things that have been deep down, not being handled, not being reviewed, needing to be adjusted, and also needing to be purged. And sometimes whenever you've had a wound reopened, you've had somebody from the past come back around, you've had certain negative situations hit the forefront, you have to replay everything over in your mind. And the thing about hindsight's 2020. We remember everything. Suddenly, every conversation that was ever had, every lie, every time somebody texts, oh, I'm busy. Oh, I was asleep. Oh, it wasn't working. Oh, I had to work late. But then you remember every single time that it happened is like, oh, I bet you were with her. I bet you were with him. I bet you were lying. And there's something about going through everything all over again as a part of the process of that purge. And emotions, again, can be very, very heightened when it comes to Monday and Tuesday. So we're going to just keep this going. Just remember that the moon's going to be in Scorpio all day. Even though there's no direct transit, there is a lot in the vibration. There's a lot going on. There's a lot that needs to be handled. And there are some things that are going to finally come to closes. Like we're going to have some closure in some way, even if it's not physical closure, like, oh, we went to lunch and we said goodbye to each other. We had a coffee and said goodbye. We had breakup sex, whatever. I'm not saying that. Not everybody's going to have that type of closure. Sometimes it's going to be just that internal vibration of like, I'm not doing this again. I'm never working with them again. I'm not thinking about this again. I don't care. I don't want to. Goodbye. Release. And that can be a big part of Monday. A lot of people are going to be having to get to the root of certain causes of why something was triggered over the weekend and why we need to heal from something. And we need perspective. And again, we need to go deeper within to pull something out. There's a lot of emotion, frustration, and dealings whenever it comes to Monday and Tuesday. Now we're on Tuesday. Here's the 15th. Now, when it comes to Tuesday, it's going to be a little bit till we get our first transit. It's actually not going to happen until right before lunchtime. So I'm going to get this to 11:30. Between 10 a.m. and noon, the moon, 24 degrees, is going to hit a trine. A trine to Venus. I don't know why I was about to say something else. Now, trines are triangles. Flow to flow, water flows. But Venus has just turned something around. Some people need to have an understanding about why so and so is now rejecting a situation. Well, why did you break up? Why did you leave? Why are you moving out? My opinion changed. My desires have changed. I'm sick of their bullshit. Venus is newly direct. This is the first transit to touch her. She's trying to get her bearings about her. And there's something that needs to be understood as like, this is how we turn something around. Being told this is how you can turn something around. Can we do all the turning at once? No. The thing about Venus is she's going to be at this 24-degree mark for a little while. She's going to be stuck in something for a little while. And there will be some people that they are just stuck in something for a minute, trying to gather themselves on how they can progress and how they can move forward from here. But not everyone is going to be able to just progress the way that they need to. Give people time to go through their emotions. Just trust me on that. Now, the other thing that's happening right as the moon goes through its trine with Venus is the moon is also going to start its opposition to Uranus. Now, this is actually going to be more exact around 12:30. So we have a lot of consecutive energy throughout the day. Now, Uranus is in Venus's sign. If you talk to somebody and you find out, oh, hey, the reason I just had this turn in the situation, why I am no longer going to work with this people, why I'm no longer going to do this is because so-and-so, Uranus is so-and-so in this case, told me something, fed me information, let me know something. And the moon's hitting the opposition to Uranus. Like, oh, did you talk to Venus? Have you told her anything? Did wah, 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 wah? Now, for some people, what you hear can be something unexpected because it's Uranus. Uranus is still loosely in that sextile to Venus. So there is some unexpected vibrations that are coming through about the turn, about the change that has fed into something turning around and changing. For some people, there can be excitement. It is Uranus. For other people, it's going to be something very, very unexpected. It is Uranus. For some people, you're going to hear something that, it, again, kind of hits your spine of like, oh, I don't need to be a part of this either. Now, there's a reason I'm saying it this way. When we get to this part of the day, if you notice, Mars is now at the 29-degree mark. And over the next 2 days, he'll be wrapping up his trip through Cancer. Mercury is also at its 29-degree mark. And this is the last full day of Mercury in Pisces. So there is something that speaks to completions, relieving, releasing, and letting go over the course of Monday and Tuesday, especially Tuesday, given the transits that we're talking about. Okay. Now, after this, we're going to bump this to about 3:30 or 2:30, sorry. The moon in Scorpio still is going to make a trine to Saturn. Responsibility, authority, government, who's in control of what, who needs to oversee what. The moon is in the higher authority, pushing some type of information onto Saturn, letting somebody know that, hey, they need to make a decision. Hey, you need to take responsibility for this. Hey, you need to take care of this. Hey, you need to deal with grandpa. So you are just going to be doing something with an elder. Saturn vibration, trying to understand what's going on with grandpa. Well, I know you don't like this new diet. I'm going to stick with a continuous example that I've been using for the last few weeks. I know you don't like the new diet, and I know you miss your gummy bears, grandpa, but your diabetes is through the roof, so we can't. We got to manage your blood sugar. We got to keep everything back down. You can't have the things that you used to have. And it's trying to like push some kind of understanding onto the elder. Hey, I know that you said you were going to take care of this. Something else has not been taken care of. I need you to do your job, Moon trine Saturn. I need you to handle your work, handle the responsibility, handle the thing that you're in charge of. Hey, are you going to take care of that thing? Moon trine Saturn. Trines, triangles, this flow vibration, it's not hard pushes. So a lot of this really kind of comes down to how we're interacting with the elder, the authority figure, who's responsible for what. In this situation, sometimes you will be the Saturnian one. Sometimes you will be the moon person. Sometimes you're going to be like, hey, can you take care of this? Moon trine Saturn. Sometimes you're going to be the Saturnian person and you're going to be like, I don't have the space or the capacity to take care of that right now. I will do it tomorrow. That kind of thing. Not saying that you're going to have to take care of something all right then, but there is something about the responsibility that can be coming through in the afternoon. Okay. Bumping this a little bit more into the evening time, what we have next is going to happen very close together. So I want to bump this to about 8:30. We got a grand trine energy happening. So grand trines are actual full triangles. And what we have going on here is Mars in the moon sign is making a trine to the moon in Mars's sign. Simultaneously, the moon is hitting its trine to Mercury. So the Mars moon is going to be from 7 to 9 p.m. That's why I put this at 8:30. Moon's trine to Mercury goes from 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. That's again why I put this at 8:30, because it encompasses both. There is additional supportive understanding, emotional understanding, empathetic understanding of what's been going on behind the scenes, and finally being able to voice something, telling somebody that I'm either ready to let something go because I have another action, another play that I want to take. I'm going to reveal something. Now that's a little bit different. Again, when Mercury goes into Aries, there's something about its conjunction to Neptune at that 0-degree mark. There's something new that's about to come through, but some people can have warning of that new. You can be like, this has been going on behind the scenes, but it's about to come out. It's about to get released. It's about to get announced. It's about to come through. For some of you, you were talking to somebody like, we're starting it tomorrow. It's going out tomorrow. It's going to be great. We're about to do this week. It's going to be so fun. We're opening the doors, grand opening, cut the ribbon. Yes. For some people, it's going to be positive. For other people, there is going to be some kind of news that is being discussed, and you might not know all the news and the level of disruption that's about to come. And you could find yourself in the blindsiding energy, that leftover blindsiding energy, as we come through going into Wednesday. And the dynamic of Wednesday is going to be very, very different compared to Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday forward, very different vibration. Okay. Now, after the moon goes through its trine with Mercury at 9:38 p.m., so I'm just going to bump this to 10:30, the moon is going to go into Sagittarius. The moon is now in Jupiter's sign. And over the course of the next few days, we're going to deal with a lot of planets, luminaries, going into fire signs. The moon will be in Sag, fire sign. Mercury is about to go into Aries, fire sign, making that conjunction to Neptune in a fire sign. Mars is going to go into Leo, fire sign. There is a fueling, there is an ambition, there is a desire, there is a drive, there is something new that is setting in. For some people, what will start to set in is going to be based off of what gets revealed in the Mercury-Neptune conjunction. And that, I feel, is going to be a very disruptive piece of information that is going to lead to new actions and reactions coming to light and coming to the surface. Now, I'm going to remind everybody of something that I've said multiple times. In November and December, when Mars was in Leo, I did more charts for businesses than I did people. Now, there's got to be something to that. Now, we've seen a lot of business and industry changes, and we've also seen through the Venus retrograde that the entire economy has been shooken to a standstill. What do you think is going to happen when Mars goes back into Leo? That Mercury-Neptune conjunction is happening in Aries. But there's going to be a boom once the moon goes into Sagittarius. And it's either going to be a boom of the masses finding out a new information. For other people, it is going to be a boom of something very, very hopeful and helpful. You don't know exactly what side you're going to be on until we get to this vibration. Some will have big changes in their wealth because of Jupiter. Others are going to have negative impacts depending on who your ruling planet is and who your Time Lord is right now. But there is a shift that starts to come through. The moon is going to go into Sagittarius again, Tuesday evening, 9:38 p.m. Central Standard Time. But the full vibration of the changes that will follow will really come through on Wednesday, the first full day of the moon being in Sagittarius. And I need people to be prepared for the boom, the fire, the frustration, the god of war, because he's a part of this too, shifting into one action coming to a close while another action, reaction coming to light comes through. And it happens really all through the moon going through Sagittarius. Okay. Now, let's get into this part. As soon as the moon goes into Sag, from 10 p.m. to midnight, so I've got this at 10:30, the moon is going to go through a trine with Neptune, 0 to 0. Something new is coming through. Some kind of new inspiration for some, new news for others, announcements for others. Something coming through that can have to do with faith, lies, fraud, deception, the spiritual woo-woo faith kind of things, but also the inspiration. For other people, it is going to have to do with the treatments. It really kind of comes down to what you are dealing with in your personal life, what has brought us to this new normal. And I've seen the mix of all of those whenever I've talked to you guys individually. All right. Now, after the moon goes through its trine to Neptune, there ain't a whole lot going on. We're done for the day. We're getting into the 16th. The moon is going to be in Sagittarius all day on Wednesday. The first thing that's going to happen is at 1:26 a.m. So I'm going to just bump this to 2:30 because this is going to encompass it. Mercury is going to go into Aries. New information, new news. Now, for those that have listened to me for a long time, I say this all the time. Mercury going into Aries, this is pop-off season. We are re-entering pop-off season. Oh, the shit that's going to come out of people's mouths the entire time Mercury is in Aries. And it will be worse than what we dealt with before. It will stir more shit. It will bring more things to the surface. There will be more agitation this time. We know more. We've seen more. We've experienced more. We're ready to fight about more things. Be aware of that. The vibration is going to start to pick up when we get into Wednesday. Okay. Now, between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go through a sextile with Pluto. So here's the moon, 3 degrees, 25 minutes. Here's Pluto, 3 degrees, 44 minutes. Now, I want to keep reminding you guys, Pluto hasn't moved a whole lot, and we are getting really close to Pluto turning retrograde. We're roughly about 3 weeks away now. But with him being in the same area of the sky, there's certain things that we're not as triggered by anymore. And that's the helpful thing. There can be things about what's been going on behind the scenes, different types of power struggles, people being no longer wanting to be controlled by certain kinds of fears. That can be a big part of this. There can also be the plumbing issues. I got to bring up the plumbing stuff again with the Pluto stuff. Sometimes it's the most mundane thing. The thing that's going on behind the scenes and below the surface literally is a plumbing issue. That happens a lot with Pluto stuff. There can be things about the plumbing. There can be things about what's going on below the surface behind the scenes. We can be talking about a fear, talking about recent triggers, talking about what we're trying to get over, where our fears have been, and what we're about to do moving forward. There is a tension and an intensity that is building. And some people will be like, if I have one more thing happen, I'm going to piss some people off. I'm going to put them in their place. I'm going to challenge. I'm not going to sit here and continue being in fear and triggered. And some people just need to say that. They need to talk that out. The moon sextile to Pluto in the overnight hours kind of speaks to that. Some people can go into work, human effect. I know this is 4 to 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, but you can go into work and you can see a plumbing issue at the office. That can be mundane stuff. But other people can be going into work and you see that person that just grinds your gears and they say something, they do something really frustrating. And it's just like, if you keep pushing my buttons, it's going to happen. And I am telling you now, it's going to happen. Okay, moving this along. The moon sextile to Pluto, again, 4 to 6 a.m. This does not have to be the intensity and the energy. I just feel like a lot of people are going to feel those little triggers in their spine. Now, all day we are building to the exact conjunction to Mercury and Neptune. And this conjunction is different than all the ones that have happened before. So I'm getting this to the evening time. We're going to get this to roughly about 11:30 because it's right after the exact. This goes exact between 10:56 p.m. and 11:28 p.m. Central Standard Time. But it is the third conjunction for them. So there's 2 prior dates that can be leading into this right here. What are those 2 prior dates? March 2nd, March 29th. Something that happens in the month of March. You could have been doing research or something, being inspired by something, looking at something that like, oh, this might be a good idea, but I don't know that I want to do it quite yet. I think I need to wait. I need some time. I'm not quite ready. And now you've had a little bit more time to work through something and you might be more ready to do something, launch something. Again, this is a 0-degree Mercury Neptune. There could be something that was discovered throughout the month of March that at first you didn't know what it was. But then when Mercury was retrograde coming back over an area of the sky, you're like, oh no, I have a much better idea of what that looks like. And now I know for me to finally fix the situation, to create something different, to make corrective action, I have to do something different. I have to stop committing to insanity and start doing something new. The types of news that can come through on the second half of Wednesday, really anytime on Wednesday, once Mercury goes into Aries, but even on Thursday, whatever is coming through in these few days, like there's some kind of new information, new ideas, new revealings, new disruptions that are going to really highlight something as the week continues. And it will set the stage for a lot of where our focus is going to be, what we're building on, what we're dealing with over the course of the next 2 months in a multitude of ways. So I want to keep this going. Now, we're going to get this into Thursday. The moon is going to be in Sagittarius all day long. The first transit is not going to happen until the morning time, like right before lunch. So I want to get this to about 11:30. Between 10 a.m. and noon, the moon in Jupiter's sign is going to hit an opposition to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is being hosted by this Mercury. Mercury just made a conjunction to Neptune. Some kind of information release, some type of, there's something about, I'm really stuck on this information thing, guys. So this tells me it's like a mundane thing, but it can also be things that happen in companies. Let's be real about that. There can be like the announcement of like layoffs, the announcement of something coming through. We can't wait any longer. It's too crazy. It's been too volatile. Volatile was the word of the spring. It was the word I was warning all last year. Like when we get to spring, it's going to get volatile. And ooh, that's been the word. When goes into Aries, hits that conjunction Neptune. There's news. There's something coming. Big news, big communication. But it's going to be different for everybody. And for some people, that vibration is going to speak to things tied to layoffs and some other type of things tied to companies. I really do feel that way. When the moon hits this opposition to Jupiter, this is like trying to understand the decision, trying to understand the masses, trying to understand what has gone on in regards to people's money. Jupiter can have a lot to do with money. There's something here that speaks to like wealth, prosperity, masses. Now, a lot of times Jupiter is the doctor, the guru, the teacher. It's like having some type of news from the doctor about how treatments are going to go from here, how the first treatment went for some people. You know, some people, the Mercury Neptune is like literally gonna be like, this is our first round of chemo, this is our first round of radiation, this is our first round of something in your treatment. And it's like we immediately have to go to the doctor afterwards. You know, you get treatment Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, get to the doctor on Thursday. Okay, how do the labs look? They look great. They look responsive. It looks receptive. It looks like this can work. We're going to keep it going. We didn't have any negative reaction. Or if you did have a negative reaction, okay, we need to find an alternative. That can be a part of this too. But the moon hitting that opposition to Jupiter, we need additional layers of insight to the new vibration that is setting in. Be aware of that. There's a multitude of ways that's going to come through. Now, as we get into the evening time, between 7 and 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, so let's get this to 8:30, the moon is going to go through a trine to Chiron. Now, the moon is in a fire sign, Chiron's in a fire sign. There can be conversations again about how we fix something, Chiron, recent wounds that have been exposed, Chiron, recent levels of healing that we feel like we're finally coming to terms with, how we're ready to approach something moving forward. Remember, something just got brought to light with that Sun Chiron, and that was specific with that Libra full moon. There was something about the past wounds, deep-seated things, or creation of new wounds that is about to lead to some type of shift in their action. I'm not afraid anymore. For some people, I'm not afraid. I don't want to hurt anymore. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Moving forward, I'm going in this direction. Moving forward, it's going to go this way. And the Chiron vibration is correspondent with how the rest of the evening is going to go. So I want to keep this going. At 10:30 p.m., so between 10:30 and 12:30 on the 18th, but I'm going to just keep this at the 11:30 range. Between 10:30 p.m. and 12:30 on the 18th, the moon is going to square Venus. Now, this is a push. Squares are of the nature of Mars. Speaking of Mars, at 11:21 p.m. Central Standard Time, that's why I put this at 11:30, by the way, Mars goes into Leo. Mars changes signs. Mars is re-entering Leo. And there are things from last fall, specifically November and December, that we can be picking back up on, that we are taking up a notch, that we are taking to the next level. New things. There can be things that happened that were decided upon last November and December that now we're refocusing on in a different way. And for some people, sorry, Leo risings, some people, whatever starts to come through is not going to go their way. There's going to be judgment. There's going to be disruption. There's going to be anger. There's going to be some things. It's going to get real intense real fast. It's a very different intensity compared to the frozen confusion that we've been in for the last 6 weeks. Now, I think it's interesting that the moon is going to hit this square to Venus right as Mars goes into Leo. Now, Venus is slowly starting to move again. She's in like a wonky move. The thing about that spinning vibration at the end of a retrograde, I always compare it to like the spinning drunk feeling, like we've drank too much. We have no other choice but to let something out, like bleh, let something out. And then afterwards, like it takes a little while for us to get our sea legs back. Like, I'm a wonky. She's a little wonky. The moon hitting the square to Venus can be asking questions, and she's a little wonky. I'm like, I don't need to talk about this right now. Or there's a push, and whatever you find in the push, whatever comes through in the tension in the conversation, and it can be an intense conversation, like it reveals something. And now that the Mars Leo energy has started, there can be a start of something, the next wave of something. We have a continuous part of the wave. Now, what's interesting is this is like the last day and a half of the sun being in Aries. So right now, the sun and Mars are in mutual reception. Mercury and Neptune just had a conjunction in Mars's sign. These areas of the sky, Aries and Leo, whatever they rule for you, they're speaking to each other. They're working with one another. For some people, that's going to go well. For other people, it's not. It really kind of depends on, again, what these signs rule for you. Now, after the moon square to Venus, there's nothing else going on. Now, again, the moon square to Venus, it starts on the 17th. It's still active as we go into the 18th. So 12:30 a.m., like this is right whenever we start to hit their separation point. But there's still something in this vibration that speaks to the consecutive order of how we're going to deal with things going into Friday, going into the 18th. So just be aware of that. The moon's going to that square with Venus right afterwards between 1:30 and 3:30 a.m. So I got this at 2:30. The moon is going to square Saturn. Now, Saturn is getting closer to that north node vibration. And there is this all-consuming vibration of like what we're responsible for, wanting certain things tied to power, a lot of focus on the government, north node conjunct Saturn. I talked about these before in the month ahead forecast. Like there were some very Saturnian things that were talked about. And with the moon hitting this conjunction, with the moon hitting the square to Saturn, while Saturn's hitting the conjunction to the north node, there can be a questioning of people in power. There can be a questioning of authority figures. There can be a questioning of who's responsible for what. There can also be the recognition of this person has to be responsible moving forward. They have to be held accountable moving forward. And that really, again, speaks to Saturn conjunct the north node. Are you feeling highlighted right now that you are in a place of like taking control of something that you feel like it's very destined for you to be seen this way? For other people, do you feel like there is a consuming vibration that we have to have control of certain things? Are you seeing certain people that feel the weight of the world on their shoulders and the melancholy? Go back and listen to that month ahead forecast whenever I talk about all the Saturnian issues that can come through, because this can be one of the triggers that lets us know about that type of issue. Okay. Now, once we get into the morning time, between 5:30 and 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go through a trine with the sun. So here's the moon, 28 degrees, 37 minutes. Here's the sun, 28 degrees, 40 minutes. Like we're super close right here. This vibration is not heavy per se, but it's still fire to fire. And there's something here about the new that has just come through. And some people would be like an ego recognition, moon trine sun. For some people, it's like mothers and fathers trying to get an understanding of what's going on with their son, moon trine sun. It doesn't have to necessarily be their son with son, daughter, the kids, what's going on in the business, what's been coming through, what we're about to start, what we're in the process of launching, what we're in the process of doing that's new right now, because there's a lot of vibration, again, that speaks to new. At 9:13 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to change signs and it is going to go into Capricorn. So I got this now at 9:30. Now, the moon in Capricorn is going to be very intense this time. And I say that because Saturn is hitting its conjunction to the north node. And some of us, once the moon goes into Capricorn, like we feel very much like it is time to deal with this responsibility. It is time to file this acknowledgement. It is time to file the lawsuit. It is time to hold somebody accountable. It is time to deal with something in a legal matter because of what Saturn represents. Saturn is time. Saturn is karma. It is rules. It is boundary. It is the authority figures. It is the government. Whenever it comes to Saturn vibrations, once the moon goes into Capricorn, our focus is going to be very, very much about how this is playing out and where we're feeling drawn to. If you've had questions of how the Saturnian effect is going to be impacting you, once the moon goes into Capricorn, you're going to know. Are you feeling like it's very timely? Like, I have to do this responsibility. I have to take this thing. North Node conjunct Saturn, now that the moon is in Capricorn. Do you feel like there is this major focus of like people are abusing their power or doing something, dirty or shady at the business? Are you seeing new people come into power? North Node conjunct Saturn. When the moon goes into Capricorn, our focus is going to be on the Saturnian, and what you're dealing with is going to make sense. Whether it's positive, negative, depression, melancholy. Again, go back and listen to the month ahead forecast where I talked about the Saturnian effects of the month of April to make that make more sense, because it's a lot. All right, moving this along. The moon is in Capricorn, and as soon as the moon goes into Capricorn, what is it going to do? Between 9:30 and 11:30 p.m., so bump this to 10:30, the moon is going to hit the square to Neptune. Second little lunation, squaring Neptune, but this time it's the moon and the higher authority. So we're not as confused, we're not as hazy. It's more along the lines of like pushing through a fog, pushing through the confusion, questioning the information, questioning the treatments, questioning the inspiration, questioning the drive, questioning the lies, the fraud, the deception. Moon in Capricorn, squaring Neptune. Now, this square is going to be felt the most between 9:30 and 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Right after this, as we get into lunchtime, so I'm just going to bump this to 12:30. The moon is also going to hit a square to Mercury. You can see this right here. Moon, 1 degree, 41 minutes. Here's Mercury at 1 degree, 51 minutes. Now, again, it is pop-off season. Mercury being in Aries, you question somebody and they're not ready to talk about it, they might pop off. They might have something to say. They might say something that gets on your nerves. You might be like, hey, I need you to do this. Hey, I need you to kiss my rear. I'm not doing it right now. Because they're not in a mood. A lot of people are going to be in a funk. They're not going to want to deal with certain responsibilities. If you have somebody new going into some kind of position of power, you just got promoted, and you're trying to give that first person a delegation of, hey, can I get your help on something? Even if you're doing it from a nice perspective, they can still be a salty ass. And I need people to be prepared. There can be some tension. There can be some arguments. We just had that Mercury Neptune conjunction. So some people be like, hey, I just learned about this. Can I get your input? And again, they don't necessarily want to talk about it, or what they give you sounds really blunt, brash, and forceful, even if they don't need it to. Like, they don't even realize that their tone sounds super crabby. I'm infamous for this. Like, I'm going to the store and be like, hey, what kind of deli meat do you want? Like, I want this one. Can you slice it like this? Cool. But then my face, the resting bitch face, is so strong. They're like, they get real like impatient and fluttered. I'm like, hey, it's cool. Sometimes I just look this way. Sometimes I just sound this way. Sometimes I just come across this way. I'm not trying to be this way. I'm just letting you know, like, it's going to happen. Brash, blunt, very harsh tones. And again, Neptune and Mercury, they are being hosted by a new Mars and Leo. We got more and more of the new coming through, new information, new questioning, new lies, new fraud, new deception, new decisions in the vibration. Okay. Moving along. After the square to Mercury, there's not a whole lot done. Really, we're just going to keep it going. We're going to get into the 19th. The moon, of course, is going to be in Capricorn all day long. And whenever it comes to Saturday, there's not a whole lot going on, but yet there is something going on. And it's really more luminaries coming into the sign change. At 2:57 p.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm going to just bump this to the afternoon, we're going to go to 3:30. The sun is going to enter Taurus. Now, the official start to Taurus season is April 20th. However, we're in a transitional mode where on the 19th, some people can be a sun in Aries, some people will be a sun in Taurus. This is where we get people that are cuspers, air quotations on that. The sun going into Taurus is, again, going into a fixed sign, and it's going into Venus's sign. Venus is starting to move again. Venus is starting to pick back up on her energy. And Venus is about to start giving some feedback whenever it comes to Sunday and when it comes to next week. The sun going into Venus's sign can bring more to light about how something has transitioned, how something has turned around. But right as the sun goes into Taurus, it's also starting a square to Mars. It's not exact yet. But what Mars is going to do exact, specifically between 5:41 and 6:39 p.m., so we're going to bump this to 6:30, is it is going to go through an exact trine from Neptune. And again, I said this in the beginning of the episode. We have a lot of things at the starts of new signs. Neptune is at 0 degrees, hitting that trine to Mars. And this will be the third and final one. They've done this before. The difference was they were in different signs. One would have been late October, right before Halloween. We had a Neptune trine to Mars. The other one was the second week of January. We had a Neptune trine to Mars. That was Mars being retrograde. Both of those were the Cancer vibrations. This is the start of something new. And I feel like whatever this vibration is, the inspiration, the spreading, the lies, the fraud, the deception, the ambition, the drive, the desire, the inspiration, whatever we're dealing with, this vibration either shows us like the treatments are working, and like it's like grandma, grandpa just had some treatments, chemo, radiation, think of it that way. And then by the weekend, they're doing stuff. Like they have so much energy and they're like, I want to rearrange the living room. No, you're not. I will rearrange the living room. Where do you want the sofa? Like there can be some boosts in that part of the vibration. For other people, it is going to be, again, inspiration of like, this works so well. Just the immediate reaction, it works so well. I think that we can make this work for the long term. And that speaks well of certain things. Other people is going to have some type of lies, fraud, deception that encounters an action or a reaction that sheds light on something. And I want that to be something that is very much aware about the 19th and the 20th. Happy Easter, guys, because this is Easter weekend. Just to be clear. Okay, moving this along. There's no lunar transits. There's just the big energy of Mars's trine to Neptune and the sun going into Taurus and building its actual square to Mars. We have new things coming through. And by the end of the week, we've got a better idea of what the new is. Now, getting this into Sunday. Happy Easter, everybody. Oh, between 5 and 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm just bump this to 6:30, the moon is going to go through a square with Chiron. You can see this right here. There can be a questioning of the wound, a questioning of the solution, a questioning of what we're trying to fix, a questioning of what has occurred, a questioning of how somebody dealt with something in the past. Remember, Saturn in the conjunction to the North Node, this building conjunction right here, there can be something that it feels like a judgment about the wound with the moon being in Capricorn this time, like judging someone of like, did it really bother you that bad? Did it really hurt that bad? Did you really have to say those things to your dad? Did you really have to? Yeah, I did. I had to be real. I had to tell him what he'd done. I'd had to explain what has occurred. I had to hold him accountable. Some people are going to have those types of situations. Did you really have to? Yes. Yes, I did. Did you really fix it this way? Yes. Yes, I did. Moon's square to Chiron. The moon in Capricorn feels very, very snippy, snappy, and judgmental this time. I'm just so serious. Okay. Now, between 9:30 a.m. and noon, so I'm going to bump this to 11:30, the moon is going to hit a sextile to Venus. Simultaneously / consecutively, it's going to be moon sextile Venus, moon trine Uranus, right before Venus and Uranus re-enter their exact sextile. And actually, if you look right here, it's pretty close. Venus 25:43, Uranus is 25:44. This goes exact between 11:55 and 2:44. So I feel like a lot of the vibration of Sunday, of what's setting in, has kind of a ping pong effect or one thing after another effect. This just happened unexpectedly. Oh, I need to go talk to this person. Oh, I just found out about this. Let's go talk to this person. And we're feeding some type of information. The moon is in the higher authority to Uranus. Venus is in the higher authority to Uranus, and Venus is hosting Uranus. So there's something here about from the authority figure, from the elder, about a certain responsibility, moon in Capricorn, how we need to be productive about something, moon in Capricorn, and giving thought and guidance. And like we're talking to multiple people, but what about this idea? What about this? Like it's a brainstorming vibration almost. Like, how about this? How about this? How about this? It's time to do this. It's time to do this. We could try this, that type of thing. I can't take care of grandpa. You could take care of grandpa. Could you take him to this appointment? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Yes. This is also still Easter. Some people are getting together with their families. Moving forward, you're responsible for this holiday. I'm going to be responsible for this. I'm not even coming anymore. There are going to be a lot of things about dink to dink to dink to dink to dink. All the people talking, all the people coming through. Some things will be very, very unexpected. Some things will be fun. Some things will be exciting. Some things will be kind of frustrating and boiling. And a lot of people are going to be responsible for the holidays for the very first time. Like they're not used to doing this. And it's like, but as soon as it's done, it's like, I guess this is how we're doing it moving forward. Okay. Now between adding into where we're already at, between 11:30 and 1:30 p.m., the moon is also hitting the sextile to Saturn. Saturn again is building its exact conjunction to the North Node. It's actually going to go exact on Monday. But we're still in it. There's still, it's a long-term vibration that is taking over the entire month. And many people are sliding into place. They're taking on their new responsibilities. They're taking on their new role. They're transitioning into something that is very much time for people to take on. Some people are going to be very weighted in this energy. They're not going to like the way that it feels. Other people are going to feel that they're exactly where they need to be. It's kind of a mix in the vibration. Okay. Now, keeping this going, between 4:29 and 4:53, so I'm just going to bump this to 4:30, Pluto is going to hit a sextile to Mercury, and this will be the third and final one. Now, each one has been in these areas of the sky. So there are prior dates that are really feeding into this. One is March the 5th. The other is March the 25th. And again, there can be something about the plumbing. I'm going to keep saying that up with the Pluto stuff. There can be something about the plumbing. There can be something about what's been going on below the surface. There can be something about a power struggle. There can be something about recent triggers and how we're not going to let them move forward anymore. Pluto is in the higher part of the sextile, but Mercury is done. Moving forward from here, Mercury is going into a further direction of something. And the next time these two planets make us any type of mark to each other will be whenever it's going to be Pluto square Mercury. And by then Pluto will be retrograde. So again, we have something to like the final hit of being aware of the plumbing issue, if it's still that mundane thing, finding a solution, getting something handled, but really dealing with some old fears, some old triggers, some old wounds. And somebody can say something again for that last time, that little triggered vibration. And you're like, nope, not playing this game with you. I'm not doing it. I don't have to stay here. I have my own car. Happy Easter. Goodbye. Okay. For some people, Easter is going to be fun. For other people, it's be like, I don't like hanging out with your mom. Okay. At 6:22 p.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm going to bump this to 6:30, the moon is going to go into Aquarius. And there is going to be a lot of things tied to opinions as we go into the latter part of Sunday. Now, the moon in Aquarius is in an air sign. It is a fixed sign, long-term energy. But the rulers of Aquarius, Saturn and Uranus, have also been at play as we go through the day on Sunday. The Venus sextile to Uranus, Saturn's conjunction to that North Node. There's so much of the energy from whatever has happened earlier in the day that is setting a long-term opinion once the moon goes into Aquarius. Not everybody is going to like the opinion that happens. The first thing that's going to happen once the moon goes into Aquarius is it's going to hit that square to the moon, which is the quarter moon, but it's also hitting the opposition to Mars. And there can be tension, there can be fighting, there can be frustrating energy, frustrations being voiced, a lot of things coming to the surface, kind of boiling up certain things. And again, something new coming through because we're at the start of a zodiac sign. And there's going to be something that kind of triggers a lot of the energy that is going to go into next week, the week of the 21st. So be aware of this. Easter Sunday is going to be a very intense day, and not everybody's going to have a fun time this day. We're going to try, but that doesn't mean it's going to work out. Now, here's the moon newly in Aquarius. The first thing it's going to do is hit a sextile to Neptune. That is going to go more exact between 7 and 9 p.m. So I got this at 7:30. Here's the moon. Here's Neptune. They're going through their sextile. If we keep this going, we bump this to 8:30, we're going to see a lot more going on. One, the moon is surpassing its sextile to Neptune, but what is it also doing? It's entering that square to the sun. It's entering that opposition to Mars. The exact square between the sun and Mars is right here. It goes exact between 7:30 and 9:30 p.m. You can see this vibration of like having some type of news, some type of information, some type of inspiration, something about the lies, the fraud, the deception. I'm talking about the moon sextile to Neptune. And then it leads to this other effect right here, because again, whatever's setting in has a long-term vibration. There can be tension, there can be frustrations tied to more than one person. One person's feeding this information. This information is leading to some type of judgment. That judgment is leading to some type of argument. And you don't know what you're talking about. Why would you tell mom this kind of stuff? What do you mean? You heard what? Why didn't you talk to me about it first? Why don't you actually come to the source versus spreading your lies, spreading your rumor, spreading your bullshit? What are you talking about? Why would you do this? That's this kind of vibration. Now, some people will be a lot more calmer. We can hope. Fingers crossed. We can hope. Be like, hey, let's talk. Me, you, and mom. I want to talk to you because I heard this and I don't believe it. And I want you to tell me the truth. I want you to tell me what I don't know. Now, again, we still have this sextile between Mercury and Pluto playing out right here. And there's something about this vibration that can speak to the power struggle and what we're not letting control us anymore. And we're still in the Mercury-Pluto sextile as we get into the evening time. And there can be a lot of truths that start to come to the surface, just as much as there can be a lot of lies. There can be a lot of tension and frustration and judgment, just as much as there can be some understanding. This now comes to the human effect. How you perceive the way people are bringing something to you, how you perceive a situation when you hear the lies, the fraud, the deception, how you perceive the information whenever you hear about the new inspiration. Hey, I heard you're starting a business. Can I hear about it? Can you talk to me about it? Mom said that you're starting a business. I'm super interested. Tell me what you know. Maybe I can do it with you. Maybe I can invest. I just want to hear about it. And some people will feel judged. Others can have light shed on that can be supported. It really, again, comes to the human effect and the matters of perception and the way that people are handling this vibration. I really feel like this is going to be a teetering moment. For some people, there's going to be a lot of intensity, and frustration. But for other people, there can be a whole different level of support and cognitive senses to what is starting to develop, to what the new normal is going to be. This whole week, we're trying to get into the new normal. Every single day we wake up, we're trying to get more accustomed to the new normal, accustomed to this new vibration, accustomed to this new direction. And whenever it comes to the way this is all starting to come through, really it's going to come down to the human effect, the matter of personal decision, the matter of how you are moving forward with it. Now, again, some people, whenever it comes to the Saturn energy, the Saturn North Node that's coming through, some people are going to be feeling like all the weight of the world is on top of them. I didn't know I was going to have to start taking care of mom full time, and I don't know how it's going to help, and I don't know how to do this with work, and I don't know how to do this with my own family and kids, and I need help. And Sunday can actually bring help. Like, this has created such a disruption for me, and I have no other choice. I have to ask for aid. I have to ask for help. And it can be the start of support. Let's be clear about that. Showcasing something about the disruption can be the start of support. For other people, the inspiration of trying to do something different, and how that is enlightened, highlighted, showcased, adopted, absorbed, seen, can come through. And for some people, it can be positive. And that positive vibration can help us overcome past fears and past power struggles, especially things tied to like self-worth. I don't want to be scared of this anymore. I'm ready to do this on my own. I'm ready to take this to the next level. I'm ready to do something different. I'm ready for a change. And I want people to step forward if they feel compelled that they can. Some people will be able to step forward into a new normal, taking a new drive and an ambition and a desire forward. That's a good thing. But others are going to have something revealed, some kind of news, some type of information that will lead to judgment. That judgment by the end of the week can lead to tensions and frustrations, and even more so going into next week. Because after we go through the square between the sun and Mars, we still got Pluto. And Pluto will square the sun. And Pluto and Mars will have their third and final opposition. And there will be more judgment to come. There will be more drive to come. More things to achieve to come. More forward direction into our new normal. There's a lot of new this week. I hope for the best. I hope for many of you that it is a wonderful new normal. For some people, though, you're going to hate my guts. I don't like this week, Dusty. I don't like what happened. Now, my goal is whenever I get back from Fort Smith, I've got a lot of sessions on Monday and Tuesday, but to still do a meditative rant. My goal is to do that next week. And I want to put more emphasis now of talking about some of the other things that I have seen in my meditation and by watching what's going on. I want to put more emphasis on some of that Neptune and Aries stuff. I think we're ready to have some deeper conversations about how he's playing into our new normal. Our new normal. I think I screwed that up. I have a goal this week to do something different, to do a couple things different. I hope you do too. I hope they go well for you. I hope you have been on the up and up through all these retrogrades and you didn't do the things that were negative. I hope you listened to me. Because remember, I kept saying, like, if you do things negatively during this time, they will come back to bite you. We're getting into some bite energy. Bite. Chomp. Kicking back. Fighting back. Frustrations are coming. More disruptions. New disruptions. And they can be the result of everything that has occurred. And I do have fears around the potentials of layoffs this week. So many companies, they have had to make decisions to not move for the last 6 weeks. That impacts profits. And I could see the next wave of the fire sale energy coming through, regardless of industry. I can also see the next wave of labor changes coming, specifically with the Mercury Neptune. I still hope for the best, but there's something coming, and it's much, much bigger than just what we're dealing with in our mundane. I know that to be true, but I'm still going to hope for the best. So there's that. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Remember, this is going to go out on Saturday morning because I will be at an event this weekend. If you are in that Western Arkansas, Eastern Oklahoma area, and you're able to make it over to Fort Smith, come see me, meet me in person. I will be happy to meet with you. Again, I'll be doing in-person readings at the Gypsy Holistic Fair this weekend at the Wyndham Hotel in Fort Smith. So I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.